Welcome to the Mechanics and Materials Lab. This safety exercise is provided to make you aware of the potential hazards you can encounter within this lab. It will also touch on a few specific lab experiments that you will be doing in ME304. You will be given a short quiz that you will need to print out at the end and return it to your instructor before you will be permitted to participate in the lab. Failure to complete this training or failure to inform your instructor that you completed it by the given date will result in your dismissal from the lab for the semester. Okay, let's start with a general overview. Within ME304, you're going to be using various pieces of equipment. All the instructions for using this equipment is located within your lab manual. Please be sure that you understand exactly how to use this equipment. If you do not, please see your instructor and make sure that you have permission to use the equipment before starting your experiments. It is important that we leave the labs clean and keep a tidy workspace. Do your best to keep everything together. Don't leave trash. We do have trash cans for that purpose. Food and drink are not permitted within the lab. That's pretty standard for IPFW labs. The lab technician, his office is located in ET347 should the need arise, but you should be referring to your instructor first. Personal protective equipment. This is a subject that you will hear throughout your entire career, not just through your time here at IPFW. As with all workspaces, we do have special requirements within the lab. We do require you to wear closed-toed shoes only, no open sandals. Generally, shorts are allowed in this lab. However, when we get to doing impact testing, you'll probably want to wear long pants. Safety glasses will be required for any experiment that has flying debris. Your instructor will tell you when these will be required. Lab 11 in your lab manual, which is impact testing, will also be require the use of special tongs and special gloves, which will be provided to you as part of the experiment and the equipment given to you. Here we get into safety concerns. We're going to talk about some specifics of the equipment. One general is no horseplay. We're all adults. Let's act like it. The first thing I want to touch on is lab number 1. This is tensile testing. You can see in the picture on your slide the Tinius Olson universal testing machine. We have this set up to do our tensile specimens. A couple things to note. For whatever reason, do not go behind the guard during the testing procedure. It's unlikely, but it is possible to have flying pieces when the sample eventually breaks, and it will. Do not open the guard unless you're asked to by the instructor. As a general rule, if a machine's on, it's under power, you don't want to be reaching inside of them. This machine is no exception. This machine is capable of 60,000 pounds of force, and when a sample is let go, there's a lot of energy that's being released, and the last thing we want is someone to be hurt. The next lab that we're going to highlight is lab number 11. This is probably the most dangerous lab that you will get involved with ME304. This is your impact testing. Again, refer to your lab manual for all instructions and all equipment requirements. This lab will require hot plates, it'll require liquid nitrogen, and some ice. All these items will be provided to you by the lab technician. Look to your instructor for guidance. Chances are your instructor will be doing a lot of leading with this lab, but you will be participating. Some of the hot plates are heated to high as 400 degrees Celsius. Again, there's care because there's liquid nitrogen. The biggest thing with this lab experiment is you want to make sure that during the course of the experiment, you're going to have a large group of people, that you don't all crowd around this machine. You have a large swinging hammer. The hammer is approximately 60 pounds. The last thing that we need is someone getting pushed in front of it or can't get out of the way because there was too many people standing over top of them. So make sure you give your fellow students room to operate this experiment. One of the other hazards with this experiment is injury with lifting. This again, the head of this hammer is about 60 pounds, so You're welcome to give it a try. If you can't lift it or can't get it all the way up, please don't force it. Either ask for help or bow out and let another student move in for you. The other big thing to note is immediately after breaking a specimen and the hammer stopped, please do not pick up the broken samples after testing. You're coming off a hot plate of 400 degrees Celsius. Even after it's been in the ambient air for a short period of time, it's not going to cool off right away. So chances are those parts are still very, very hot. And after it's been in the liquid nitrogen, you can get a similar type of burn when it's very, very cold as well. So we want you to leave those specimens lay on the floor. They'll probably sit there overnight. The technician will clean them up the following morning. That'll give them a chance to cool. At that point, if you want to keep a specimen, you are welcome to that. But you would have to see the technician afterwards. Equipment handling. You'll be using a number of different apparatuses and electronic devices throughout this lab. Be very careful as you're handling them. If a piece of equipment breaks during the lab, notify your instructor immediately, who will notify the lab technician. Do not attempt to fix the equipment by yourself. If the equipment's before use, notify your instructor or the lab technician to get alternate equipment. At the end of the lab session, your equipment should be cleaned up and left on the workbench in an orderly fashion. You should have all the equipment you need to perform your experiments when you walk into the room for that scheduled day. At the end of the day, everything should be put back where you had found it, and then the technician will return all the equipment to its proper place following the lab. One of the safety features that's been added to the lab is a power disconnect. All the major equipment in this lab is on an electrical disconnect. Power must be turned on using the key switch on the panel to the right of the door and above the main breaker panel. The key for this switch can be located in the CME department office with the administrative assistant. Only the instructor should ever have the key. The key needs to be returned to the office as soon as possible after your lab period is complete. Power shutoff. There are 3 large reset buttons located inside the room. At the end of your lab, the power must be shut back off. They are located between the furnace and the Burnell testing machine. There's another one right next to the Tinius-Olson, between the Tinius-Olson and the impact tester. And there is one on the main panel for the key switch. Last but not least is emergency procedures. If there is a fire within the lab, stop what you're doing immediately and exit through the main lab door. Pull the fire alarm pull station on your way out of the door and do not re-enter the building. If there's a medical emergency, please call 911. The campus police can be reached by emergency phone if there is a red phone within the lab, or by calling 260-481-6827. Or if you pick up any phone on campus and dial 1-6827, that will also be transferred directly to the police department. First aid must be administered by the campus police. If you're working with any chemicals within the lab, whether it's oil in the Burnell machine or possible manometer fluid or whatever it could be, the MSDS sheets are located in the Right to Know centers, which is right near the main door to the lab. This concludes our safety training. Please take our short quiz and return that to your instructor, and be safe and enjoy your lab.